Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for CFP Board's Business Update webinar. I'm Karen Schaeffer, and I'm delighted to be your host today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a former chair of CFP Board, and for another couple of weeks, I'm the current chair of the FPSB Board that regulates the certified financial planners outside the U.S. But more importantly, I'm a CFP certificant, and I have a financial planning practice with my husband, Rick Schaeffer, in Washington, D.C., so I'm interested in all of this, and I'm very happy to be here. Today we're broadcasting live from CFP Board's office in Washington, D.C., where CFP Board's Board of Directors just wrapped up its regular March meeting. Today's webinar, you'll hear updates from the Board of Directors meeting with a focus on some of CFP Board's priorities for 2013, including our discussions will be on CFP Board's work to increase public awareness of CFP professionals, the growth of the CFP professional community, and CFP Board's public policy advocacy. We've received a number of questions in advance, let me thank you for those, of today's problems, and we're going to try to get to all of them during this webinar. Little housekeeping. During today's event, if you experience any issues with the audio for this presentation, or if it appears that the slides displayed don't quite match up with what we're speaking about, just try refreshing your webinar console by pressing F5 on your PC keyboard, or those of you using a Mac, it's Command R. If you're on Twitter and you want to post about what you hear today, use hashtag CFPBoardBUW. Please use the question and answer function on your screen to ask questions of our panelists. But don't wait. You can submit those questions anytime during the program. Know that we're going to try to get to all of them during the Q&A session at the end. If we can't quite get to all of your questions today, you know, there's only so much time. We'll be sure to follow up. CFP Board is going to provide you an answer, so stay tuned to our website. Today we have a great panelist in Nancy Kistner, our chair of CFP Board's Board of Directors. Hello, Nancy.
Hi, Karen. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. And we're also delighted to have CFP Board's 2013 chair-elect, Ray Ferrara. Hello, Ray.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon.
And as always, the leader of the ship, Kevin Keller, CFP Board CEO. Hi, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Karen.
Glad you're all here. Thanks for joining us. So let's get it kicked off. Lots to talk about. Nancy, you just got done with the latest meeting of the Board of Directors. What was that, about 10 minutes ago, give or take? What updates from the board's meeting would you like to highlight?
Well, thanks, Karen. We had a great meeting this week. We covered a lot of ground, and that's typically what goes on over the day and a half that we all spend together as a board. We talk about everything from CFP Board's recent activities and then also get into important strategic planning discussions. I'd also, before we even go further, I want to thank Karen and her colleagues from the Financial Planning Standards Board. We call it FPSB. They met with us yesterday. We had a great discussion about the state of CFP certification around the world, and we had that opportunity not only with Karen but also with the CEO, Noel May, and leadership from the FPSB affiliates in Australia and the United Kingdom, because it's so important that we all think of this certification leading to a profession that really does do business internationally. CFP Board's Board of Directors really set out an ambitious and what we think is a very exciting agenda for the board in 2013 and beyond, and it will impact all of you and the public in a very positive way, we think. To focus CFP Board's work over the next several years, we have identified 4 overarching outcomes that relate closely to our core mission, which is to benefit the public by granting the CFP certification and upholding it as the recognized standard in personal financial planning. The first of these 4 overarching outcomes is awareness. That includes public awareness, and hopefully many of you on this webinar have seen the work that we have produced. The outcome of awareness also extends to awareness within the financial services industry, which so many of us are a part of. And it's also among policyholders, policymakers, I should say, and thought leaders. The second piece of this overarching outcome is growth. we've been very clear in all of our discussion of this outcome that there will be no lowering of standards. We still think we can grow, and it's largely because of our high standards. The recognition and regulation outcome, which is the third piece, it relates to our long-term goals to see financial planning recognized and regulated as a bona fide profession. And finally, the authority outcome relates to a number of opportunities before us to advance the financial planning, really to advance financial planning as a rigorous discipline that is relevant not only to educators and professionals, but also extremely important to the public. It's really these outcomes that highlight key aspects of our core objectives, and it gives the board a clear focus for the organization's work, especially in the coming years. And we kind of view them as earthquake bolts for our mission and core objectives. They really kind of hold everything together and serve as a guiding light for the board and the organization. Want to spend a little bit of time on public awareness. It's one of our highest priorities, given its importance for the future of the certification and the profession in general. It's really the first large-scale advertising campaign that we've ever undertaken, and it got underway, it was already in April 2011. I can't believe it because time has clearly gone by, and we've made some great inroads. We will be reaching our 2-year milestone next month. We have a campaign that includes print and online advertisements as well as TV ad that has been broadcast on national television, cable networks including AMC, CNN, ESPN, Fox News, HGTV, even the History Channel, MSNBC, and the Travel Channel. So we're quite excited about it. And along with the TV ad, the campaign also includes advertising in other types of media. We have print ads in national magazines like Fortune, National Geographic, Golf Magazine, and Money, as well as some business editions of Time. So hopefully many of you have seen it. If you haven't, continue to be on the lookout. We even have placed sponsorship messages on NPR. In fact, Karen was mentioning yesterday that she's an avid listener. So Karen?
Every day I hear on my NPR breaks in the car about CFP certification, so I love it.
It's exciting. So several sets of online ads have also appeared in many, many online properties. So all of the advertisements direct people, most importantly, to our consumer website, which is letsmakeaplan.org, where they can learn more about the CFP certification and also look up a CFP professional in their area. Overall, just so you understand what the campaign's overall objective is, it's to increase awareness of CFP professionals. Why? Because we feel we benefit the public and can serve them most effectively. And the campaign, just so you know, has a target audience, mass affluent initiators. This target really shares very specific demographic and psychographic characteristics, such as those that you see here. It's also important that all of our public awareness campaign materials and strategies are designed with this objective and the target audience in mind. It's important for you to also know it's been a priority to make sure we're able to measure our success in this and demonstrate the campaign's progress. So we did a benchmarking study. It was conducted before we even launched the campaign in April of 2011, and it really gave us a starting point for measuring progress. Last year, we also went so far as conducting a follow-up study at the campaign's 1-year point. And you can see what we discovered through the study were statistically significant signs of positive momentum, which we're quite pleased with. And it was in this unaided awareness, meaning we don't have to aid the individual to be aware and know who a CFP professional is among mass affluent initiators. So for a campaign only a year old, we think the results are extremely encouraging. They were unexpected and quite impressive at this stage. The metrics show that the public awareness campaign is working, which is a positive sign, and this year we're going to be conducting another study. We hope to measure our progress at the campaign's 2-year mark. And I will tell you the Board of Directors will conduct a formal evaluation of the campaign. So we look forward to sharing more on that front. I will tell you the funding that CFP Board and our CFP professionals have committed and contributed to the campaign is quite substantial, but it is nowhere near the advertising budgets of other organizations in this space, particularly in the financial services industry. And it's important for you to know that we're committed to being excellent stewards of these funds. We owe that, and we will be held accountable.
Nancy, I think it's important, regarding that fact, I would just add that from an accounting standpoint, the additional $145 per year that each certificate pays goes straight into a designated fund. There's no overhead charged against it. It is the direct expenses only of the campaign that are charged against that. And so it has been, I think, every dollar going directly to increase the awareness of CFP certification.
That's all great. And not only do I get a kick out of seeing my dollars go to work for me every day when I'm listening to the radio, but I've actually had a couple clients mention it to me. Hey, that's that group that you did so much work with. Yes, that's the group. That's what we're all about. So, but with all of that being exciting, I'm also hearing this rumor that you might be rolling out some new print and online advertisements with the campaign. Any of that going to come up this year, Nancy?
Yes, we're pleased to share there will be new print and online creatives for the campaign during 2013. And since the campaign began, our marketing team has really been evaluating the success of our different advertisement strategies and looking for ways to ensure, we get the most value. That's extremely important and really impact for the dollars. For example, last year we found opportunities to introduce some advertorial-type messages alongside some of the print ads. These appeared in magazines focused really on key personal financial planning topics, and they worked to tie in the topic of the magazine to the benefits of working with a CFP professional. This year, we're not only going to continue the print, the type of print added value, but we'll also secure opportunities to do something similar with some of our television advertising as well. Just to give you an example, we have an advertorial-type print ads in National Geographic magazine, something I'm excited about. I love the publication. It's using some of that print content as the basis for several on-assignment TV segments that bring the stories to life. And these TV segments, they will run on National Geographic Channel and Nat Geo Wild just prior to our TV advertisement. So for those of you that are not familiar with Nat Geo Wild, it is a National Geographic channel for animal-only content. We're moving in some different directions and thinking about our target market and some of the lifestyle areas that they're interested in. And we also have a similar arrangement on HGTV. In addition, HGTV is producing some short custom vignettes that tie together financial planning topics with topics of their regular programming. Just to give you an example of that, we have a real-life vignette focused on a small business owner who is balancing her retirement planning with an expanding design business and a new house. These vignettes are also going to run just prior to our TV advertisement. So it's a great way to get our messages out there in a way that is directly relevant to the interests of our viewers.
Sounds like I'm going to have to be recording a few more channels here if I'm going to get to take advantage of all of this. But it's just a couple of years ago, I couldn't even imagine that we'd be on the TV, much like all over the TV.
In a good way.
In such a good way. Thank you very much, Kevin.
We're out there.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch. Great idea when it takes off like that. It's just been fun to watch. But I know that there's ways that individual CFP professionals could actually leverage this a bit. This is the big, huge campaign coming out from CFP Board. Ray, what do you think? What's the right way to do this?
Karen, there's lots of things that every CFP professional can do to help us extend the reach of the campaign. Our advertising dollars are focused on national outlets, and there's much more people can do to help share the campaign materials in their own local communities. All of the campaign advertisement and all of the other resources are available to each and every CFP certificant in the Public Awareness Campaign Toolkit at CFP Board's website. And all you have to do is go to www.cfp.net/toolkit, and you'll find all of that material.
The toolkit includes such things as advertisements that you can customize for your own use to help extend our message, video files and instructions for adding the online banners, and TV spot video to use at your own website. Downloadable artwork for the new CFP mark, a social media guide with suggestions that can help you share our campaign messages with your own networks. In fact, at our board meeting, we looked at that booklet, and it is outstanding. We hope all the CFP professionals are going to take the time to look at the toolkit, and we'll find ways to use the resources. As the campaign continues, Karen, the toolkit will be updated with new materials, trying to stay very relevant as much as possible. For example, recent updates include 2 customizable client letters that CFP professionals can send to clients and potential clients to highlight their qualifications as a CFP professional and encourage them to take the next steps in their financial planning process.
So, Ray, and Nancy, as you both know, along with the paid advertising, and I'll remind you, the board made a 4-year, $40 million commitment to a paid public awareness campaign, but that's only half of what we're doing, because at the same time we have the paid campaign going on, we're engaging in an extensive public relations and consumer outreach effort to leverage the impact of the awareness that we're making. During 2012, we had significant media coverage of CFP certification, CFP Board, and the various leaders of CFP Board. We call this earned media. In fact, it's earned because it's earned by the news media who perceive what we're saying to be of value and to be newsworthy. And we differentiate that from the advertising and marketing that we're paid. So we have paid media and earned media. Our public relations efforts, including our earned media, really play an important role in our work to increase the awareness of CFP Board's visibility among consumers, policymakers, and within the financial services industry. CFP certification and CFP Board representatives, including our consumer advocate Eleanor Blaney and 27 CFP Board ambassadors in major media markets around the country, continue to be featured by top-tier consumer publications like USA Today, the New York Times, as well as on national cable television broadcasts, including CNBC's Closing Bell and network television like the Today Show. Now, if we tried to buy the coverage that we have enjoyed through our earned media efforts last year, the estimate is it cost us $195 million. So we had nearly 4 billion impressions through our earned media efforts. We have also generated some great collaborative energy around our consumer outreach initiatives. What you see here is an example of some of our collaborative consumer outreach efforts. We have established partnerships with prominent organizations to bring people information about the benefits of financial planning or to provide opportunities for them to connect with CFP professionals through pro bono consultations and workshops. Last October also brought us the 3rd annual Financial Planning Days, which is a national initiative organized by CFP Board, by the Financial Planning Association, both at the national and chapter level. We work with the Foundation for Financial Planning as well as the U.S. Conference of Mayors. We held events in 24 cities in the month of October, and these were around the country. We reached thousands of consumers, and we had over 700 volunteers, most of whom were CFP professionals. Feedback from the attendees who participated continues to be overwhelmingly positive. We're grateful to everyone who's assisted in putting these special events together, especially the local FPA chapters on the ground who are really doing the boots, doing the footwork at the local level to make these events successful. Financial Planning Days give many people their first opportunity to meet face-to-face with a financial planner, and I know the CFP certification was well represented at these events. And as we continue to work to raise awareness of the value of CFP professionals, we expect to see a growing consumer demand for their financial planning services.
Great. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's all exciting news. Ray, maybe we could shift gears just a little bit here, and you could focus us on the progress on the board's growth outcome.
Absolutely. And not to say that one is bigger or better than the other, but growth is vitally important as we go forward, and something that we're focusing a great deal on. In fact, at the end of February, as you'll see on the slide, we had 67,916 CFP certificants in the United States, but I'm proud to say that here only 10 or 12 days later, that's actually up to 23 CFP certificates. Can't read my own notes, I guess. And that's about 20% more than we had 5 years ago. And when you think what all of us have been through over the past 5 years, that's very impressive results. Karen, yesterday you and your colleagues at the FPSB shared with us some global context for this number that I wanted to share. Worldwide, between FPSB and CFP Board, we're fast approaching 150,000 CFP professionals globally. And what was particularly amazing was to see how fast some of the countries are developing, 3,000 in China, and most of them females, which was quite impressive, the work that's being done there. That we have globally an increase of about 5.72% for 2011 through 2012.
Well, all of us at FPSB are just thrilled to see the increase of certificates and professionals growing around the world in markets that are both emerging. Some of these countries have never really had a middle class that could even begin to benefit from financial planning. To our more mature economies, certainly it's great to watch the U.S. have such great growth after going through, all of us together, 2008. For those of you who really don't know what FPSB is, Financial Planning Standards Board, that's the organization that owns the CFP marks outside the U.S., and it really has been an honor to chair the organization and to be so closely affiliated with it over the last handful of years. FPSB works to develop and operate certification, education, and related programs for financial planning organizations to benefit the global community by establishing, upholding, and promoting worldwide professional standards in financial planning. So it's just really, really aligned with CFP Board. It's just outside the U.S. borders. FPSB has nonprofit members in 24 territories, and the U.S. would be one of those member organizations. The 5.72% global increase is for all of our member organizations, but we've had a handful that did double-digit, no-nonsense kind of growth. Just a couple of years ago, there were no certified financial planners in Ireland, and now they're looking at close to 1,000. Noel May, our CEO, is just back from Brazil, where he shook the hand of all the new certificants. It took Brazil years and years and years to lay the groundwork, and now to have these CFP professionals, and one of them now newly elected to our FPSB board. It's really exciting stuff, especially since it all started here in the U.S., to see it just grow like that.
Karen, that's really impressive growth, and it's something that here in the U.S. the CFP board believes that we can achieve as well. Based on data from Cirilli at the end of 2012, only about 18% of the total number of practicing advisors are practicing CFP professionals. Not every financial advisor is going to become or even be eligible to become a CFP, which is a disappointment. We'd obviously like to have everyone in the tent, but these numbers clearly show the opportunity. And as we continue to work to raise awareness of the value of the CFP professionals provide, we expect to see growing consumer demand for the financial services that we provide. We want to ensure that CFP professionals are available to meet that growing need, and any of us that have seen any of the statistics recently about that growing need as the boomers head into retirement or the young people come out of school with student loan issues, et cetera, the need is going to be absolutely huge.
Well, I think we're all seeing the need. So walk us through, if you would, the ways in which CFP Board is going to pursue this growth.
To Kevin and to the entire staff, I mean, they've got a great plan laid out. There's opportunities to reach out to financial advisors who are currently practicing but have never become certified. In fact, I was at my broker-dealer conference just before attending the meeting here in Washington, and the president of the broker-dealer stood up and went on for about 3 minutes telling everybody in the room the importance that if they don't have the CFP certification, that they ought to be getting it, whether they've been in the business for a short period of time or those that are been in it for a long time. CFP Board recently conducted a study with financial advisors and college students with related majors to get data on the percentages or perception, of the CFP certification, including what factors and messages influence their likelihood of pursuing the degree as they graduate or think about advancing their career. The results of that study have provided helpful guidance on the types of initiatives and messages that we can use to reach these people and to pursue their certification. And we had a great presentation at the meeting this morning with some of that research, and it really is encouraging. We'll continue to work with our education partners to encourage student enrollment and retention. And speaking of education programs, wow, how far we've come. 340 registered programs offering a CFP board-approved curriculum, including 5 PhD programs at 4 different universities. Clearly, traction is being made. Our registered programs are great partners in support of the CFP certification, and their input and insights have been very valuable to us in identifying ways to keep people engaged in pursuit of the certification. We want to help increase enrollment and student retention at our registered programs and help these programs graduates keep moving forward on their path to CFP certification. In addition to working with education programs, we also have great opportunities to work with the financial services firm where those graduates are likely to seek work.
Right. One of the interesting things, if you look at this slide, we have undergraduate you can now earn a degree, an undergraduate, a baccalaureate degree in 111 colleges and universities across the country. We are making at CFP Board significant investments with Dr. Charles Schaeffer and his outreach to the undergraduate community, because while the bulk of our exam candidates still come to CFP Board through the certificate program channel, we think the long-range growth of CFP certification and the continued emergence of the profession will be because that undergraduate program becomes, over time, a much larger and eventually the largest portion of folks sitting for the CFP exam.
Kevin, again, you just stop and think in the period of time that each of us who are listening have been involved in the profession and how far this whole education thing has gone. You don't have to get a zoology degree like I did and then get into financial planning. You can actually learn something about it.
We won't talk about what our degrees are in.
Well, again, there are firms with very large numbers of CFP professionals that have embraced the certification, and we're working with them very closely to maintain that momentum. We're reaching out to other firms, as I mentioned, like my own broker-dealer, to encourage them to begin or strengthen their support of CFP professionals. And as we move forward with our growth initiatives, as with many of our other initiatives, we'll be looking for opportunities to work together with other individuals and organizations that share our dedication to benefiting the public. There are lots of opportunities for growth, and I encourage anyone listening in today, if you have an opportunity for growth, to be sure to contact CFP Board, let us know what that opportunity is, and we would be delighted to pursue it. Terry?
Well, speaking of growth opportunities, one of our viewers has a question that I kind of think relates directly to this issue of how we're growing. One of our viewers is pointing out that the pass rate for CFP certification exams seems to be generally rising. I'm concerned that the level of competency is not being maintained. In addition, I know of several people recently who've taken the exam 5 or 6 times over the last several years. It seems that they are just continually taking the exam till they get lucky. What's being done to stop people from just repeatedly taking the exam without passing it? What do you think, Nancy? You want to grab that one?
Absolutely. Remember what I said earlier as we started this webinar, I said we certainly want to grow because we want to benefit the public, but at the same time, we are not intending to lower our standards. So I think it's important for everyone on the call to know that the pass rate for individual administrations of the CFP exam has historically, it's fluctuated somewhere between about 50 and 65%. And in fact, actually, the last examination we had, which was November of 2012, we had a 64.3% pass rate, which is in the high end of that historical range, generally speaking. So the questions, let's get right down to it, on each of the CFP exams are subjected to a very rigorous multiple-stage review process, and then the exam itself is scored to separate those who have met the certification standard from those who have not. So actually, if you think about it, it is possible, but obviously highly unlikely, that for some administration of the exam, we could see a 100% pass rate if every exam candidate met the certification standard. But the big factor that affects the pass rate is really the amount of preparation that exam candidates put into it. CFP Board also has policies in place that limit, and I want that to be known, that limit the number of times people can take the exam, including a lifetime maximum of just 5 attempts, not more than that, and a maximum of 2 attempts within a 24-month period. Again, we want to see growth. We will not lower standards.
Karen, and I'm kind of surprised by that person's question, because in one case they say the exam's getting easier, but yet they know people who've taken it 5 times and still haven't passed. I look at the exam statistics after each offering of the exam, and the pass rate for those people who are taking it on the 5th time is very low. So it's, we say, and sometimes maybe this isn't a good analogy, but it's somewhat, the pass rate is always the highest for first-time takers, and then if you don't pass it the first time, the second-time takers, it keeps dropping off, and that's because, again, I feel very comfortable that psychometrically the examination is sound and able to differentiate between those who meet the standard and those who don't.
Well, I'm really glad that we get to have this conversation, because it's so easy for all of us out there doing our thing to be drawing conclusions based on our little reality. No doubt this viewer does know people taking that exam, right?
Yes.
And it was kind of a high pass rate in November. And if you hadn't been plugged in every single exam rate, as you have to be as CEO and as you key volunteers, you kind of pay attention. It's really good. I'm really glad I got the question.
Yeah.
It's
Great.
important. And I would add, in regards to the standards, if you compare today's standards for CFP certification to what they were before the start of 2007, you can see that we've really raised the bar across all of the 4 E's of the certification requirements: exam, education, experience, and ethics. And it's also important for you to know we are committed to ensuring that the certification represents the highest standards, even as we pursue opportunities to grow the certificate population. It's really that rigor of the standards that makes them meaningful, and it's a key reason people pursue and maintain certification.
Yeah. We're getting another question in here. This is probably directed a little bit to you, Kevin, but it speaks to growth strategies. What's the path forward for adoption of CFP certification as a required certification for practicing financial advisors?
Wow, that's a pretty ambitious goal. Here at CFP Board, along with our partners in the Financial Planning Coalition, the Financial Planning Association, and the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, or NAPFA, we've advocated for a national standard for those financial advisors who are financial planners, and that is an endeavor we will continue to pursue as occasions arise. But as Ray mentioned, The reality is that not every financial advisor is going to become or even be eligible to become a CFP professional. Our long-term goal is the recognition and the regulation of financial planners, and it's really a long-term goal. In 2013, we at CFP Board will be working with the Financial Planning Coalition to evaluate strategies to advance this goal while continuing to advocate within public policy debates related to financial services for positions that benefit the public.
I'm seeing that we are getting a few questions in here, but let's go through. We have a little bit more material, and we have a question and answer session that we'll leave for at the end here. Kevin, could you just go ahead and review where we stand now on some of the major public policy issues with CFP Board and the Financial Planning Coalition?
Absolutely. Advocacy for a uniform fiduciary standard is one of the key issues that CFP Board and the Financial Planning Coalition have been focused on in the recent years. The Dodd-Frank legislation authorized the SEC to move forward with rulemaking following studies that have since been completed. So here's what, this is very timely and very newsworthy. The SEC released a request for information and data on March 1st on this very subject. Now, I don't know if there was any coincidence that March 1st was also Sequester Day and was a Friday.
Don't read anything.
I'm not reading anything into it. This request is looking to identify assumptions for the application of a fiduciary standard, and the request asks for cost-benefit analysis data as part of the request. We are very carefully reviewing the request for information, and we will be filing a comment letter which will be due in about 4 months. Everyone agrees that the current rate of examinations of investment advisors by the SEC is inadequate and needs to be fixed. So let's talk a little bit about investment advisor oversight. The Financial Planning Coalition supports authorizing the SEC to collect user fees from registered investment advisors to increase investment advisor examinations. Last year, the coalition achieved a major victory in Congress when we helped to halt legislation that would have established a new self-regulatory organization and would likely have put FINRA in charge of investment advisor oversight. We strongly opposed the legislation, which would have established a new bureaucracy where one already existed, would disproportionately impact small advisors, and would impose unnecessary and burdensome membership fees on advisors. And it's been reassuring to hear FINRA's CEO, Rick Ketchum, indicate that FINRA will not proactively seek to establish an investment advisor SRO this year. However, it is unclear if this will be a major priority for the current session of Congress. The coalition plans to encourage Congress to continue to support user fees to close the resource gap at the SEC that is at the core of this problem. Another issue we are focusing on is senior financial exploitation. Last August, CFP Board provided the newly established Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Some people call it the CFPB, but we think those letters are already taken. So we refer to it here at CFP Board as the Bureau. So last August, CFP Board provided the Bureau with assistance in addressing the question of how to protect older Americans from financial abuse. We invited CFP professionals to complete a survey that provided real examples of what you are seeing on the ground. Of the more than 2,600 CFP professionals who responded to this survey, 56% reported that they knew of an older American who had been subject to financial abuse. In our letter to the Bureau, we also highlighted the alphabet soup of financial designations and its impact on older Americans. We suggested that the Bureau establish a rating system for certifications and designations based on objective criteria that would help older Americans find qualified financial advisors. The Bureau has been appreciative of the data we provided to them and of our suggestions, and they are expected to release their recommendations and their related resources later this year. We look forward to working with them to help protect our seniors from financial fraud. This is an issue that provides opportunities for us to both educate consumers about misleading financial services designations and to, two, promote CFP certification as the leading financial planning designation.
Very important work. Thank you, Kevin. So we've been through 3 out of 4 overarching outcomes for CFP Board, the awareness, the growth, the recognition. So let's get that 4th one out, Nancy.
Okay, the 4th, authority. What do we mean by that? We're planning on working to position CFP Board as the authority in financial planning. We feel this is just a natural evolution for the organization. So as Ray shared, we've done a lot over the last 5 years to raise our standards, the education, the exam, experience, and ethics components, and to really increase the strength and effectiveness of our overall enforcement activities. So we're continuing to explore other ways that we can advance the financial planning profession, including work in which we'll develop an authoritative body of knowledge and an academic foundation for the profession. That's really what it's about. So this year, we are seeing an important milestone for that work as we release what we are calling the Financial Planning Competency Handbook. This is a great project that's brought together contributions from the academic as well as the practitioner community. The handbook includes, I don't want to scare you, but it's 85 chapters. I think it's 700 and something, 780 pages, including there is 1 chapter devoted to each of CFP Board's principal topics. Each of those sections are going to seek to answer what a financial planner needs to know, what a financial planner does, and when a planner needs to do it. It really addresses a combination of theory and practice. So it is appropriate in our view for many groups, which would include financial planning practitioners, financial planning students, as well as financial planning faculty, and for practitioners within related disciplines. The handbook, just so you know, is being published by John Wiley & Sons. It's a highly respected academic publisher. So we are thrilled and excited, and it will be available this spring. So keep an eye out for announcements about the handbook, and make sure to take a look at it, pick it up. I think this is monumental for our profession in the sense that this is something we've needed for some time.
In fact, it's available for pre-order on Amazon even now, so for the shameless self-promotion and plug. Now, think about this. This is an important step. When we talked about how do we grow the number of baccalaureate programs, one of the obstacles right now is getting into business schools and colleges and schools of business. So the creation of the competencies identified in this handbook will go a long way toward helping us gain the recognition of the Association for the Advancement of Colleges and Schools of Business. This is key to getting our programs into more colleges and schools of business. I'm pleased with how the project's come together. It features work by 21 contributors. It was edited by Dr. Charles Schaeffer on our staff. He is CFP Board's Director of Academic Programs and Initiatives, and I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to this project and hope all of you will check it out when it becomes available. And the publication date, Nancy, is March 20th, so we're only a couple weeks away.
And one thing I'd like to add is being a CFP professional that represents a large firm, I see this as a real opportunity for firm representatives who are working with CFP professionals, but maybe managers in which they don't necessarily have the expertise and the experience in the financial planning world. There's this opportunity to get to understand the components that make up financial planning and maybe better serve and manage CFP professionals within your organization.
Great. So we've covered now your 4 outcomes.
Well, let's think. We talk about them as AGRA, A-G-R-A, awareness, growth, recognition and regulation, and authority. AGRA.
AGRA. Excellent. So now everybody who's participating today will have to remember that acronym and keep track of what CFP Board is doing and what kind of progress we're making. But in the meantime, we've got some questions that have been coming in, and I'd like to go directly to those. And I'm going to encourage anybody who's listening today and participating, feel free to keep typing those questions in, even if we run short of time. CFP Board will read all of the questions and get answers posted. So even if we don't get one to you today. So I've got a question here. My first question up is about public awareness. It seems the certification fees have gone from every other year to every year, in addition to doubling in cost. Please advise the reason and what's being done with the additional funding. And that's a question that came in from Jason.
I'll take that, Karen. This is Nancy. Jason, thanks for the question. Want to clarify some things for you. In November 2010, we shared that the CFP Board's Board of Directors authorized the organization to proceed with a multi-year public awareness campaign to raise the awareness of CFP certification. The campaign is being funded through a combination of funds from CFP Board's reserves, as well as an increase in certification fees of $145 a year. The increase took effect in 2011, in July actually of 2011, along with the change to an annual certification fee payment schedule. So the entire increase in the certification fees is dedicated to the expenses of CFP Board's public awareness campaign. And as I had said earlier, we are holding the organization accountable to all of you. That fee increase is going directly to this campaign, and that's why we're reporting out our progress in that regard.
And, Karen, interestingly, as we were having lunch before the webinar began, Nancy, even you, when you got your first time you had the annual notice, you mentioned that it was a surprise, so Jason's question is not uncommon.
It's very timely, not uncommon. I got the notice to renew my certification, and I said, wait, what? The 2 years is already up. I'm confused. And then I realized, this is the annual renewal that's to be expected going forward for all of us, and that's all it is. We still comply with continuing ed every 2 years, just a little change in the structure of renewal.
Well, this question is material that we may have already covered, but it was an important question, so I just want to make sure everybody knows where to find these answers. This one's coming in from Michael. Is the advertising program just going to end within 2 years, or is it going to go on forever, or maybe something in between there? And I have not spoken to a single person who has seen any of the advertising. Granted, my sampling is not statistically valid. We understand it, but it is your reality. So go back to the answer we were talking about this topic earlier, and just remind Michael of where we're really focused here.
Well, Michael, I'm sorry you haven't seen anything as of yet, but be on the lookout. If you're listening today, I believe you are because you posted the question. But most importantly, the ads are out there. People are noticing them. The campaign was authorized for an initial 4-year period. That's where we started with a review of the campaign and its effectiveness at the 2-year mark. So as we get closer to the end of the 4-year period, the board authorized for the campaign. The CFP board will evaluate whether or not we're going to extend the length. The initial research has shown that the campaign is having an impact, so we hope to continue on with this, but that will be determined. We'll keep you posted.
Great. What's up next, Hubert wants to know, with our marketing campaign? How about a short video highlighting the value of working with a CFP professional that advisors can post on their website?
Karen, it's a great idea, and during 2013, there'll be some new online and print created for the campaign. But as for TV, we'll also have some new network-produced vignettes that lead directly into our advertisement. We currently do have a short video already posted on our YouTube channel that highlights the value of working with an advisor who holds the CFP certification. It's listed as Financial Planners on CFP certification. I encourage you to take a look at it and even embedding it in your website. And if you haven't seen it, I mean, it's a pretty awesome little piece.
Cool.
It is. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Thank you. And Leon has just let us know that he saw an ad on Bloomberg, which was excellent. So we appreciate that. And those of you who haven't seen any yet, we know you're working too hard. So just relax a little bit and get out there. There's a quick one, though. Kevin, I think this is a question for you. What's the plan to update the handbook as laws and other changes occur? That's a question coming in from Bill, and I know you've thought about that.
Certainly. I assume he's referring, when he says the handbook, the standards of professional conduct.
The one that you're shamelessly flocking, yes.
Oh, the handbook. The handbook. What's the plan? Oh, you already want us to update it. It's 785 pages. Well, the update schedule of that will be tied to our job analysis that happens every 5 years. And so the handbook is out there. It's based on the job analysis that we initially published in 2010. And so we think it has a good couple of years shelf life. But there is a plan to keep that product current, and we've already contemplated the second edition with John Wiley, our publisher. So I'm very pleased.
I'm sorry, Kevin. I'd also add that for those of you who don't want to do your exercising in the morning with all 780 pages, it is going to be available digitally as well as in print.
Indeed. I started to talk about the standards of professional conduct because we anticipate providing some additional updates, and we will be going out for comment most likely in mid to late spring for input from CFP professionals. More on that to come.
Stay tuned. Excellent. We've got a question that comes in from James, who's also sent a little shout-out to Ray, Kevin, and Nancy. Can you dispel the notion that CFP Board wants to be the regulator for financial planners? Who wants to tackle that one?
I'll take that, Karen. And hi back from Ray, Kevin, and myself, James. Thanks for this question. It comes up quite often. Just to clarify, CFP Board is not seeking to become the regulator for financial planners. CFP Board and our partners in the Financial Planning Coalition do share a goal, and it's having financial planners regulated really to distinguish and differentiate professionals who have met essential requirements to practice. We continue to believe that it's the education, examination, experience, and the ethics requirements of CFP certification that really serves as the model for these requirements. At the same time, we do not expect that the requirements for all financial planners to be set at the same high standards that we have established for CFP certification, which we view as the standard of excellence for financial planning.
A couple of comments coming in. We're seeing the ads on Fox all of the time. And please consider polling CFP certificants for their views on the continuation of the public awareness campaign. And I think that these are comments worth hearing. Good.
And just so people know, we're both on Fox and MSNBC, so if anybody thinks that we're leaning one way or the other, we've attempted to be balanced.
Like the red and blue.
Yes, we do.
Excellent. That's our growth strategy. Okay. I've got a question here that's expressing a little bit of frustration, so let's go through this one. We need to stop the use of the term financial planner or start a campaign to educate the difference between CFPs and the rest. Only CPAs can call themselves CPAs, and the public knows that. I still don't feel like we've gotten near where we should be in this distinction. What are we doing going forward to get this issue finally resolved? Is it a joke that there are no regulations against the term of financial planning? What does that even mean? And that's coming in from Leon.
Let me take that one, Karen. Leon, I think the question is very timely to several of the things we've already talked about this afternoon. In our overarching goals, the regulation and recognition of financial planning. It is unfortunate that financial planning can be used by anyone, even if they're not practicing the 6 steps and doing it with the CFP certification. But, we've come a long way from where we were to where we are today, and that's not to say we've gotten anywhere close to where we want to be. But for people to understand, as Nancy commented a moment ago, that the CFP designation is the standard of excellence for financial planners. We hope that and expect that our public awareness campaign is going to continue to further that goal and distinguish those who hold themselves with the CFP certification out to the public as making a difference. And one of those major differences, are our enforcement process. We can take the certification away. That's not true with other designations that might allude to financial planning. It goes to our ethics, and it goes to the great leadership that all of us, 68,023, demonstrate every day with our clients. CFP Board's public advocacy activities are also addressing this issue with our call for the regulation of financial planning. We will be addressing the SEC's request for information later this year with our partners with the Financial Planning Coalition, and we would love to have the public familiar with CFP professionals in the same way that they use the CPA designation. And we're making progress, but as I said, we've got a long way to go.
Good. Thanks for that, and thanks for asking the question. It's better to ask and see where we are than to assume nothing's going on in that front or that we're not aware here. Kevin, this is a question for you that's just come in here. Harvey Pitt recently said that the SEC cannot do proper reviews of RIAs and suggests that FINRA is better equipped to do so. And what's CFP Board's response to that? That's coming in from Thomas.
Well, Thomas, thank you very much for the question. As we mentioned earlier on the program, the CFP Board and the Financial Planning Coalition believe that the investment advisor oversight is best handled by the SEC. And so while there are some who would like investment advisor oversight to be handled by an SRO, we believe that it would be best for the SEC to have the ability to collect user fees to make up the difference to increase the frequency of investment advisor examinations. You know, the BCG study that CFP Board and a number of other organizations conducted showed that the cost to create a new bureaucracy, an SRO, would be nearly twice as much as adequately funding the SEC for investment advisor oversight to be at a more reasonable once every 4-year examination frequency. So I understand that Mr. Pitt thinks that it should go to FINRA. We just have a different point of view.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad that you could answer that for us, and thanks for getting us that question. I've got one here now from Brenda. Do you have any planned changes to the CFP Board CE standards that would concern providers who present seminars for CFP professionals?
Karen, last year we had a public comment period when we were talking about potentially increasing the CE requirements. And we had more comments on any single subject on that subject. And we listened to our certificants and did not adopt that particular proposal. In fact, CFP Board, after getting the public comments, passed a resolution calling on our Council on Education and the staff at CFP Board to study and develop recommendations on the appropriate level of CE to maintain the CFP professional's competency for the benefit of the public. And I might add a question earlier relative to CPA designation, CFP. If I remember correctly, the continuing education credits every 2 years for the CPA is 80 hours of credit, or 40 each year. So we need to kind of keep that in mind if we want to aspire to be. And I'm not suggesting that that's where the board's going.
No, it's in other parts of the world, Karen, you're well aware, it's 30 to 40 hours a year. And
it is something that, as a certificant in the U.S., I probably never would have thought of if I hadn't had this international experience. But it really is a little awkward to sit at a table with certificants from around the world and have the lowest standard for continuing education compared to these other countries. So we all know there's an unevenness in programs, and we all know that once you've been practicing for a long time, what you need and what you want and what's available doesn't always mesh up with what you can actually accomplish in the afternoon. But it is something that I think we should be thinking about globally together.
And the council is working on a proposal. The board's going to review it probably sometime later this year. We'll go back out for comments again, continuing to seek that input and to listen to that particular input.
You know, there's one other thing here, Karen, as I think about Brenda's question, and that is I probably hear more frustration expressed about continuing education. I don't learn anything, or, you know, it was a sales pitch, or, I mean, we hear this, and so we're trying to think about this, and is there a role that we can have? We do have a process that if a CFP professional attends CE and they don't feel that it was to the high standard, we have a process that we go back and audit the course. But it is a subject that we're thinking about at CFP Board, and how we can perhaps raise the standard or the quality. There's plenty of quantity.
Exactly.
But the quality just isn't available.
And Kevin, hitchhiking on that, you know, for a moment, we reject a lot of material that comes in for CE because it doesn't live up to the standards, which is much better than it was 5 or 6 years ago. Still have a long way to go.
Right.
But, you know, there's a lot that doesn't get out there.
So let's just handle a real quick one here that came in. We were talking about the video that was so exciting, and the question coming in from Richard is, can it be ordered and duplicated for handling with prospective clients?
You know, the video is available online, I think, as we said, on CFP Board's YouTube channel. So no need to order it. It's available free.
Love that answer. Nicely done. I've got another one here that I want to read to you, and maybe you can wrestle over who gets to take this one here. How is the CFP Board helping NAPFA and FPA grow? What initiatives are being taken to accomplish this growth? Do you feel that these organizations are helpful and vital to the CFP designation? And how can FPA attract new certificants? Okay, so that's really 4 questions. So thank you. Thank you, Ken. Well, nicely typed. Yeah. Okay, team.
Well, I can start off with just generally how can we help the other organizations. I think most importantly, it's not so much about helping, it's collaborating, and we do that through the Financial Planning Coalition, and that's where we work closely, CFP Board, FPA, and NAPFA, at the table together at the board level and the CEO level to really address key issues in regards to certified financial planners and the overall profession and how we're dealing with it from a regulatory standpoint and from a growth standpoint and awareness standpoint together. So that's one area where we're working together, and I think not only maybe it can be viewed as helping them, but I think most importantly it's helping all of us.
You know, first of all, both FPA and NAPFA in 2012 endorsed CFP certification in very real and very important ways. And we at CFP Board are very grateful for them taking that step. FPA endorsed CFP certification as the standard, and NAPFA made it a requirement for new members to have CFP certification before they become NAPFA registered financial advisors. So that's the first thing. But I have a very close working relationship with Lauren at FPA and with Ellen at NAPFA, and we work very closely together on just this topic. So I know there's sometimes I think there's a narrative out there that we're not helping out, but we help out every way that we can on their growth initiatives, and we're very appreciative that in turn they've endorsed CFP.
Great. This question is related to the ad campaign. You mentioned that the advertising effectiveness will be evaluated at the 2-year mark. I personally have not gotten any new clients as a result. What's the criterion to judge the effectiveness, and if it is judged not effective, do our fees go down? That's the question from Ann on behalf of many, I'm sure.
Well, Ann, it's a question that comes up at numerous occasions. First of all, the awareness campaign was not designed to create prospects, potential clients. It was to raise the unaided awareness of the CFP mark so that sometime when somebody from around the corner who last year might not have given you a call, that it might happen because you are a CFP certificate. We happened to discuss some of this at the board meeting because this question came up while we were doing a certificate connections in Texas, and Charles Goldman, who is on our board, he indicated, he said, he ran multi-million-dollar advertising budgets at some of the fine companies that he has worked with, and he said for $145 a year, to raise the awareness 7% in just 12 months is like, winning the World Series in a sweep all the way through the playoffs. So it's important to understand that it is not designed, nor is it intended. It's intended to let the public know about the benefits of those people who believe in what we're doing at the CFP Board, and to provide competent and ethical financial planning to their prospective clients and to their clients.
Great. Thanks. I've got a question here, and Nancy, I think this is probably one that you're going to want to take. What's the status of the investigation into several top board members at CFP Board? That's a question coming in from Mike.
Mike, it's an important question to ask. There's no question. I just want to emphasize that the allegations in this matter relate to possible violations of CFP Board standards of professional conduct. And under the confidentiality provision of our disciplinary rules and procedures, and as is the case with any CFP certificant, CFP Board cannot disclose details related to allegations when they're made against CFP professionals. What I can tell you is that the matters are proceeding through the process outlined in our disciplinary rules, and it's the same process we use for investigating any CFP professional accused of misconduct. So once the process is complete, information about proceedings that result in a public sanction will be made public.
Thank you. And again, thank you for asking rather than just assuming nothing's going on or that the matter's not being handled. So thank you, Nancy and Mike, for asking the question. Here's one I think that probably comes up quite a bit, and it's from Lynn. Do you plan to offer a work experience option in place of a bachelor's degree to receive a CFP designation? I think 7 to 10 year work experience ought to be some sort of equivalent. Do you get that a lot, Kevin?
Well, Karen, you were on the board when the board decided that a bachelor's degree would be required. And so there is no option. There are, however, there is no current consideration to making any changes to the bachelor's degree requirement. One of the things, though, I don't know if Lynn's a certificate or if she's wanting to become certificate, but if she's certified. But if somebody's out there and wants to become certified, there are a number of ways that a person can earn a bachelor's degree that are much more friendly to non-traditional students. And if you have a specific question about some of those options, Michelle in our office is available to help provide guidance. But if you think about it, in the old days, you did your 4-year degree and whatever you did from there. Now there are ways that you can earn credit for work experience. And so our counsel to people who are looking for a way to get the bachelor's degree is really to encourage them. Many people have some college under their credit, so they get some credit. They can get some credit for work experience, and it may not be as onerous or high bar to clear as you may think.
Okay, well that's a good answer because it can be for people looking at 4 years and working full time almost impossible. So that was very helpful. Thank you, Kevin. Out of all of these questions that came in, I just have to pick one to finish up with here because we're running out of time. But there was one little international question that came in, if you don't mind. I indulge you. Yes. Thank you, Michael, for sending in a question. Are CFP professionals who move to New Zealand still exempt from taking the CFP exam there? Nancy.
I'll entertain that for you, Karen. Many of the CFP certification granting bodies in other countries offer special accommodations, particularly to individuals who are certified outside their territory. What you want to do is check with the FPSB member in New Zealand, and then you can get the specific requirements that pertain to New Zealand. So visit the FPSB website at fpsb.org, and you can get information on certification requirements in other territories, and that's your best resource.
Right, and just remember that with every single territory, just like here in the U.S., that the standards are constantly being raised, so it wouldn't be a static answer. You have to really go look it up and look under our cross-border policies, because that's what we call it.
And needless to say, from a compliance standpoint, if you are doing business in another country from the U.S., you got to be really careful.
How it works over here, too.
Right.
Great. Well, sadly, I'm looking at that annoying little clock in the corner of my computer here. We're just about out of time. Nancy, do you have any parting thoughts you want to share with our audience?
Absolutely, Karen. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, not only for your participation in facilitating this webinar today, but most importantly for all your service over the years as a CFP professional and a leader of the profession. I also would like to thank everyone in the financial planning profession for your support of CFP Board and the CFP certification. I think it's really an exciting time to be part of the CFP professional community. There is increased consumer demand for CFP professionals. There's continued interest among financial professionals in attaining CFP certification, and the CFP certification, as well as our high standards, the representation of that are as strong as ever. So thanks to everyone today for your contributions to the CFP certification, and I look forward to sharing more with you about our progress in the coming year.
Nancy, I'd also like to encourage folks to get involved with CFP Board's initiatives. We need your help. The Board has set out an ambitious set of goals for 2013 and beyond, and we'll be able to make more progress on many of them only with your continued support. There are many meaningful ways to make a contribution, and I hope that those of you listening today will consider ways in which you might contribute to CFP Board's work in the coming year. Just visit our website at www.cfp.net/volunteers and complete an application. And you'll be notified when opportunities that are suited will come up. And I'd also mention to you that a little bit later this spring, we will be calling for nominations to the CFP Board for 2014. I happen to be chairing that committee. And so any of you who are so inclined, please be on the lookout for that notification.
I would also add you can find or get a sense of the profile and requirements and responsibilities of the board candidates on the website.
Absolutely.
I believe that's posted.
You know, I share Nancy and Ray's gratitude to the CFP professional community and for all of our stakeholders, and want to thank everyone who has contributed to CFP Board's work over the year. Karen will know this. I will start my 7th year, which is a nice way of saying I'm finishing 6 in April. Next month I finish my 6th year, and we'll start my 7th year in May. And so it's been really rewarding to me personally to have such a great group of folks to work with. You know, one last thing. I do want to really quickly tell folks that last month we released the first phase of a major redesign project of our website. We'll be addressing the needed updates to the private and the login and the protected areas as we go forward. What you see here is the updated website, cfp.net. Our consumer-oriented site, Let's Make a Plan, was also redesigned. The resources on both sites have been reorganized, I think, to provide a much clearer navigation. I think it makes much more sense. The sites have been designed to be more mobile-friendly, so there's a version for your tablet, there's a version for your iPhone, and we've introduced a number of enhancements. One feature that's received a major revamp is the Find a CFP Professional tool. CFP professionals can now upload their photos and provide additional information about their businesses on that tool. I encourage all CFP professionals to review the new options, update your profile through your secure CFP Board account. We value your input on the new sites and all of CFP Board's work. So if you have feedback, it's a gift. Even if it's not positive feedback, we want to hear it and want to be open to it. So thank you, Karen.
Wonderful. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for today's webinar, and thanks for the excellent staff at CFP Board behind the scenes for making this as seamless as possible for all of us to participate. A recording of this presentation will be posted to CFP Board's website within the next week, and CFP Board will follow up, as I said, with those who asked questions, and we just simply ran out of time during the broadcast. CFP Board welcomes your comments. You heard it from Kevin first regarding this program and anything else we're up to. So please send your suggestions for future programs at webinars@cfpboard.org. Thanks, everybody. Let the good work continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.